The sound of the creaking wooden floorboards echoed through the abandoned factory, now known as the Broken Bones Warehouse, as Rose's heart pounded in her chest. She had been warned by her colleagues not to venture into this part of town alone, but she had been desperate to find a cheap apartment close to her work. Now, she was regretting it. As she turned the corner, a cold hand grabbed her from behind, covering her mouth before she could scream. A man's deep voice whispered in her ear, "Don't make a sound, or you'll regret it." Rose's eyes widened in fear as she was dragged through the dimly lit factory towards a small room at the back. The man threw her onto the cold concrete floor and turned on a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. As her eyes adjusted to the light, Rose could make out the man's features. He was in his mid-30s, with a scruffy beard and piercing blue eyes. His clothes were dirty and tattered, and he looked like he hadn't showered in weeks. "What do you want from me?" Rose asked, her voice shaking with fear. The man chuckled. "Oh, nothing much, just a little company. You see, I've been lonely for quite some time now, and I figured you'd make a nice addition to my collection." Rose looked around the small room, her eyes widening in horror as she saw the shelves lined with various tools and instruments of torture. She tried to crawl towards the door, but the man grabbed her by the hair and pulled her back. "Where do you think you're going?" he sneered, tightening his grip on her hair. Tears streamed down Rose's face as she realized there was no way out. She was trapped with a madman who enjoyed inflicting pain on innocent people. The man picked up a sharp knife from the shelf and approached her, a cruel smile on his face. Rose closed her eyes and braced herself for the worst, praying for a miracle. Suddenly, she heard a loud bang coming from outside the room. The man's grip on her hair loosened, and Rose took the opportunity to scramble towards the door. She pushed it open and ran as fast as she could, not looking back. As she emerged from the factory, she saw a group of police officers approaching, their guns raised. They had heard her screams and had come to investigate. Rose collapsed into their arms, tears of relief streaming down her face. She knew she had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death, and she was grateful to be alive. The man was eventually caught and sent to prison for his crimes, but Rose would never forget the terror she had experienced that night. She knew she would always look over her shoulder, wondering if someone was watching her, waiting to snatch her away again. From that moment on, she made sure to never let her guard down and always kept a wary eye out for danger.